So at the last Libertarian Party federal AGM, we had David Seymour, who's the head of ACT in New Zealand, who's the Deputy Prime Minister of New Zealand, and he came and spoke with us. And something he said that I really thought was very prescient, it resonated with me what he said. He said, like, if you go into McDonald's and you want to order whatever it is you want to order, they don't stand there and tell you everything about every other aspect of the menu and make you order everything from the menu, right? They say, would you like fries with that? Maybe, because you've come in for a burger, you want the burger. Would you like fries with that? If not, that's cool, maybe next time, you know? And he was making that point to say that sometimes in libertarian politics, we can want people to really buy the whole thing instead of just going, okay, what do you need now so that we can have a good experience and you might come back and buy more from the menu later. But I'm going to meet you where you are and give you a solution to your problem that doesn't require you to even necessarily understand or fully buy into. Like, to vote for a libertarian solution shouldn't require someone to say, I am a libertarian and I believe everything libertarians believe. And I feel like that's what you're saying. And I think that is something that I know during the election campaign, it was really funny. There were a number of times where I just had to stop myself talking, where I was like talking to just a voter on the hustings, like someone just random. And there was it would have been more than a dozen times where I would just be speaking to someone for probably 2 or 3 minutes and it wouldn't even have gotten to politics. It would have just been me having a chat with them going, okay, you're a real person. They're like, oh, you got my vote. And to actually stop and just go, thank you, and leave.
But you kept trying to talk about it
early on. It was like I had to suppress it within myself. I had to like really fight that inner, autism. just go, but let me tell you about Rothbard. It's like, no, okay, you've said you're going to vote for me. Let's just leave it at that. So it was a great experience to I think grapple with that firsthand. I think the solution is to work out what on the menu of McDonald's people want to buy. And I think that one area that will come and potentially represents a huge opportunity for a challenge to that kind of major party thinking and to that kind of settled welfare, rotating circle thinking is housing. Because housing, the government is just never going to be able to, even if Purple Pingers and comrades had the glorious revolution and took over Canberra tomorrow, right? And even if there was no blood in the streets from that or whatever, but that they just could not solve the housing problem in a way that like people would be happy with, in a time frame that it would be expected. And I think that the opportunity is there with housing. And this is like a controversial thing to say, but it's like, I think there's going to be a point where the voting demographic in Australia is going to shift one day from majority landowners who are property rights holders existing to majority tenants and people who
That scares me.
Yeah, but it's going to happen, I think.
Even though I'm one of them.
It's going to happen more quickly, I think, than people realise. And I think...
They could wreck the system. I could wreck the system.
Well, yes.
Because I'm going to vote for more conditions for myself.
So I think that there's going to be a window of time where libertarian thinkers and, alternative right politics. I personally think that the Libertarian Party is probably one of the only parties that could do this, because I think a lot of other parties, like you get One Nation and Sarah Game in South Australia and stuff, who has said, for example, like, we want lower house prices for new entrants, but existing homeowners stay the same. It's a nonsense. It's like magic pudding economics, right? So they know that there's a problem, but none of them can actually just pull the ripcord and go, okay, we need existing house prices to fall. And I think that's actually potentially that's a real vector that I think people will go, you know what, I like the idea of cheaper house prices, I want to buy a home.
When they get to be the majority, when the rent...
Well, I think that when they get to be the majority, a party that delivers that could form government, but there's a long time in between now and that goal for libertarian thinking to grow and to become more influential. And I think that a party that is able to tackle that issue and meet people where they are on that and show them an actual real template they can touch to actually, I can buy a home realistically on my wage. I think that the first party to get that first mover advantage in that space will benefit in an outsized way when that demographic shift changes over, if you know what I mean.